Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. I am really excited to be joined by European featherweight champion and MTK Golden Contract winner, and now WBO #1 challenger, Jazza Dickens. How you doing, mate?
Soon to be world champion. You forgot soon to be world champion.
Soon to be world champion. You all good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
No problem. Thank you so much for being on. I can see from your Instagram that you've called yourself Jazza the COVID Kid Dickens. Do you want to tell me about that a little bit?
The COVID, the COVID kids. Well, to be honest, I thought I'd just make a joke out of it because it hurt me that much. You know, when I got the COVID the first time, it just ended my world instantly. So I thought I'm gonna make light of this situation. You know, so yeah, that's what I done. But what happens? I didn't notice when you change your name so many times on Instagram, you can't. It stops you from changing your name. You can't change it so many times, can you?
Oh yeah, of
Well,
course. There's a limit, isn't there? Okay.
yeah, so I think it was called Jazza or something messing. And then I went to change it back and I said, you can't change your name. I don't want to do
Oh no. There must be like a time period, maybe after a few months or something, or I don't know, maybe
I
a
think
year.
I think you get like 2 or 3 changes in a 2 week period or
Okay.
something like that. It was.
Oh well, it's an eye-catching name for now, anyway. That's for sure. So, quickly talk to me about the Golden Contract. Then, how was it fighting with like little or no crowds during it? Did you find it a bit weird?
No, I didn't even see, I didn't feel nothing different. No. I, one thing, what the biggest surprise of all for me was how these fighters have emphasised so much on how different it was because I didn't feel no different, you know. I had my dad there though. I think having my dad there and my coaches in my corner, that's a big difference for me. If they weren't there, then I'd probably say it was different. But the first time, my coach weren't going to be allowed in the corner because the Boxing Board of Control made a rule where anybody over the age of, I think it was 65, weren't allowed in the corner, and he's 82. So they made it like they changed the rules luckily the second time. But I think it would have been different if he weren't allowed there and my dad weren't allowed there.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Of course, having your dad in the corner is going to be helpful, especially as I'm sure he was very vocal throughout the whole fight as well. So that must have been great to have him there. So obviously, as you said, you got COVID as well. So that did affect you a little bit. But kind of outside the ring and inside as well, training wise, how's it affected you in terms of like your preparation and training, etc.? Has it been quite a big effect? Because as you said, like crowd hasn't affected you too much, but in terms of like preparation for fights, has it affected you a lot?
For a fighter, the way the world's gone into lockdown and you can't understand now like the way the world is and stuff like that. As fighters, as an only upcoming fighter, when you start out in a professional career, you're not making not much money anyway. But you're going to work every day or you're sacrificing every day. So this is just a fighter's life. He has to isolate himself, and he's not getting paid, so he's struggling with bills, and he's also got to live. This is the life of a fighter. Do you know what I mean? So the more dedicated the fighter, the more normal, norm, the norm, no, oh,
The more
the more
normal,
normality
yeah.
that you're gonna feel through lockdown. And for lockdown for me, I just didn't even feel nothing.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because a lot of people are saying because obviously COVID is, it's not great for the world, etc. But in terms of like for boxers and their preparation, as you said, like a lot of people, most boxers are used to that environment of being isolated and having to train by themselves, and they might have a couple of people around them, but they're used to doing that grind, working hard by themselves and not having social interactions. Obviously, not going to the pubs or the restaurants every day, etc. Or they're not really missing out
Yeah,
too much on that.
yeah.
So that was
One
quite
of my
interesting.
one of my friends said to me, "I'm looking forward to a night out. I haven't been out for 7 months." He said, and I said why. I asked him why he hadn't been out for 7 months, and he said obviously because the nightclubs are being closed. But I just didn't. I wouldn't know that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I can imagine if you're a coach and you've got this fighter, he's a brilliant talent, but he's a pain in the ass, and he likes to go out and he likes girls and he likes to drink. I can imagine that can only benefit them type of people even more.
yeah, 100% actually, because I'm sure I'm not going to name names, but there's some fighters, obviously, even at the top level, that obviously they a little bit off there where they won't, they really struggle with weight, or as you said, they just like going out, etc., and they aren't maybe as stringent as they could be, but because of this, they have to now, just stick to it, and now they've got that mindset of one track mind. I just have to do this, and maybe it will help people get into good habits going forward.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, which would be really good. So the tournament format of the MTK Golden Contract, did you enjoy that format? It being a tournament and knowing kind of, okay, if I beat this person, then I know who I'm going to fight next, rather than obviously normally you just fight someone and then it's like, okay, I'm not sure 100% I'm going to fight, but there was like certainty. Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, well, I like the certainty of having a date, but going into the tournament, I say I'm going to win the tournament, and I don't care who's in the tournament anyway, as long as, and I will fight. I said there's 8 of us in it, and all I know is 3 of them are going to have to fight me. That was my mentality going into it. I've said that from the start. I said I'm going to win the tournament, and no matter who I fight. So I didn't care too much about the people, but having the reassurance and the comfort, the safety that I'm going to fight in 8 weeks' time, because the tournament has to be carried out within this period of time. It was nice, do you know what I mean? And we were lucky, very lucky, because not many people have fought this year. So to have that, and they carried it on through the lockdown as well. MTK and Sky, good
Yeah.
on them, because they didn't have to do that. If they would have said to me, we're gonna have to sit this out for a while, just, you do understand, don't you? Because there's a lot of money going into it. There's not much revenue coming back as it is, as the money's so good. Never mind without a crowd, as I said, of course I get it, I understand, but they never carried it on. So thank you to MTK and Sky for carrying on with the tournament.
No, I think that's a really important point. I think that they carried it on, and obviously, on the other side you've got BT as well showing some shows, and I think just Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, MTK Global, all these organizations, the fact that they managed to put together fights, especially because there was a point this year where it looked like, as you said, hardly anyone fight. It looked like maybe Joshua wouldn't fight. It looked like maybe Canelo wouldn't fight, for example. Those are 2 of the biggest names in boxing at the moment. And, that would really harm boxing, I think. And the fact they managed to get, obviously, those 2, but not just those 2, but everyone, including yourself, including the world champs, the European champions, everyone, most people have managed to come out. And I think that's really helped put boxing in a strong position for next year. Well, hopefully, you'll get your world title, and everyone else, will see the super fight. So that's exciting.
I do believe I've come out of it in a good position, and I was lucky to get the fights that I did, because I fought just before and in lockdown. But I do worry for the young kids coming through, because I think we've the prospects of, there's a wave of kids who are coming through who might have have not been given the opportunity that are we going to miss that generation? Maybe this next, I don't know, because the top fighters were getting fed, weren't they? But
Yeah,
the kids coming through, and the people who were struggling to survive, where we've all been at one point, they weren't getting fed. So it's only the elite kids who are getting the opportunities at the minute. And I get it, it's understandable, but I do worry for the people who are coming through now, and even the ones who don't know the amateur system. The amateurs, they have no ABAs. When was the last time the ABAs didn't happen? It was probably during the Second World War, maybe. I don't know. When was the last time the ABAs didn't happen?
yeah.
What's going to happen to them lads? They didn't get their opportunity to break through to the elite level this year, to get to the England teams and to get on the GB squad, to start getting funding to carry them through. What are they going to do? Are they all going to get jobs? And it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because obviously the Olympics has been moved back to 2021. So a lot of people who potentially were going to box this year in the Olympics as well, and then they were going to turn pro,
Yeah.
they're having to put that on hold for a year, which doesn't sound like a long time, but for example, off the top of my head, Fraser, the heavyweight, super heavyweight, he's not getting any younger, and obviously I know that he wants to turn pro, for example. There's a few others, I think McCormack as well is really good,
Yeah.
Pat McCormack, and a few others. So in the GB squad, and they obviously will look to go pro. But you're right, because at the amateur level as well, like no ABAs, etc., a lot of fighters and promoters have said that unfortunately, because of this pandemic, a lot of fighters now are not going to be able to, well, they won't look to pursue boxing careers because they don't have the money to do it. So they're just going out, as you said, going out just to get a job, and they'll give up on it because they just feel like they're not supported enough. So that actually leads me quite nicely onto the was it the grant or kind of loan that the government put together for
Yeah.
sports, and obviously boxing is not on there. Eddie Hearn, and I think he also said he'd reach out to um, the British Boxing Board of Control as well, president. They'll talk about it and kind of he's written an open letter to the government saying look, we really need that money, not for us, but at the lower
Yeah.
level, the small hall
That's
shows,
good.
the amateurs, etc. As you mentioned, were you a bit not yeah were you disappointed obviously that boxing wasn't on there, and do you want to stress how important it is, because obviously you've come up, so
Yeah. I was massively disappointed, but at the same time, someone was getting it. It was not like nobody wasn't getting nothing. Someone was getting it, and I never say, "Well, take food out of that man's mouth to put it in that man's mouth." Someone was getting it at least, but I do think it would have been nice for these amateur kids to get it. Do you know what I mean? We're all right. The Olympics are still going to happen. The Sky shows are still going to happen. I'm all right. These Olympians are all right. But let's think about the amateur fighter. He's got dreams to turn pro, but he knows he's got to win an ABA title to get any sort of recognition. So he's given us full time to boxing. He's got to believe in himself, but he's also got 2 kids. What the fuck does he do? Do you know what I mean? What about the man who's been training for the last 5 years to also he's got a goal. He's been given his nights up every single night for the last 5 years, going to the gym to train these kids. He's got a goal. One day he's going to turn professional with his fighters coming through. Do you know what I mean? It's just, but then the whole world's in this situation, aren't they? I think as fighters, we do work hard, but it doesn't give us the right to say, what about us? We work hard, we don't work. You know what I mean? We all feel it. So I think boxers can be a little bit ungrateful at times because we work hard and we do believe we're the centre of the world because we're so self-centered and we do work hard. But I do believe that also at the same time, it would have been no one's owed nothing. I get it, but it would have been nice if we'd got grants for the amateur boxers.
yeah, that's a very diplomatic way of looking at it. So I have to say, very diplomatic, which is good. It's good. No, but I
Didn't
agree
give
with
you the
you.
answer there, did I?
No. What you said basically, which is fair enough, is obviously you don't want to take money from other sports or people who may need it, because obviously you, as rightly so, look, I think it's hard to say exactly what each sport needs because no one's right there, no one's in the kind of right in the middle of it, knowing okay, this person needs it. We don't have the stats and figures, etc. But I think obviously if they added X amount, I've forgotten how much they're talking about, but I think Eddie Hearn was saying something like even if it's like 200,000, give it to them, anything that they'll have.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, with boxing, you have a gym that needs to be running, but in terms of actually equipment, you don't need that much. But it's about keeping costs for the gyms,
yeah,
funding, etc. Because a lot of the time, it's actually fighters who are funding gyms that they might have come up from, or they're
yeah. The
helping
subs,
towards it.
yeah. Well, the subs that the fighters are paying to the coaches, they're paying the building rent.
Yeah.
The lecky, the cost of the place. They need to put petrol in the minibus for the van to take the kids out to Spa. Do you know what I mean? They need this time. With the coaches, and the coaches need to pay for the gym. So
Mm.
that's what it is. But I think that the argument was like, you're giving the money to the horse riders.
Yeah.
They're from a privileged background. If the majority of them are, I get that. But then I just also think I agree with that. But I also think my opinion is why you can't be you got to be content with your own wage, aren't you? It doesn't matter what another man's got.
Mm.
You can't say, well, he's got. That's a very poverty mindset, I think. You know what I mean? Because everyone will have more than you, won't you? If you look at it that way, I don't know. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I've been going on for 20 minutes. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, but you're right, because I think the outrage obviously came from um, equestrian or horse riding was on there, rugby, which obviously is a physical sport, and they do work hard. But again, a lot of people who are at the top level in rugby, they've come from privileged backgrounds, because normally rugby's played in private schools. Uh, kids who are more grown up with privilege normally play rugby.
Yeah,
Not everyone, but majority do. So I think that's what the argument was, and obviously a lot of kids are safe with boxing from either poverty or just gang culture, etc., whatever it might be off the street. So I think you have less of that, and obviously horse riding, you're not really going to have those types of stories in
yeah.
there. I think that's what the argument was.
When I said horse riding, I didn't mean equestrian horse riding because I know the jockeys, they are hard workers.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
probably similar to the fighters. I meant, is it equestrian? Is it?
Yeah, question. Yeah.
Yeah. Them cunts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously, you said you like the MTK Golden Contract, right? So if the WBSS, for example, were to make a tournament for featherweight, would you be interested in that?
What would that be? 5 rounds?
No, so the WBSS, so the World Boxing Super Series. So for example,
Oh,
Josh Taylor was in it, Usyk. So that tournament
yeah.
where you have you either have number one challengers or you have world champions in there, and it's a tournament, and it's basically a very similar format to the MTK Golden Contract, but you've got more fighters in it.
Of course, I would. I'd love to, and the belts are spread out amongst the featherweights as well. No one unified, so I think that'd be amazing if they could do that, and I'd love to take part in it as I'm just nearly there myself. I thought you meant then the when I was amateur, just after I turned professional, they brought this thing out. It was along the similar lines. It was 5 3-minute rounds.
Yeah, I know. Joe Joyce and Usyk fought in it. It was like the WBS. It's WBS. This is WB. It's confusing because that was I think it was a World Boxing Series. This is the World Boxing Super Series. So this is like they have the Super Sixes with Carl Froch and Andre Ward, etc. So
Callum won it, didn't he? Callum
Smith won it. Yep, against George Groves. Yeah. So like for the Muhammad Ali Trophy, basically. So they're fighting for it and for the ring belt, etc. So it's a tournament that ideally, for me personally, I'd love to see it in all divisions, but it's so hard to do because when you have, especially like for example heavyweight, the money around, it's just impossible to be able to make that type of tournament. But like especially the lower weight divisions below that, because they've done it cruiserweight, etc. as well, and everywhere below. It's great. Like Inoue obviously fought Daenerys in the final, in one of the finals as well. So that was great. So obviously you said that you are WBO number one, and if I'm not mistaken, you are mandatory, aren't you, for WBO champion Navarrete? Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I'm number 2, aren't I? They say number 1. They say number 1, but it's not number 1. It's number 1 ranked, and that to me, I'll never be number 1 until I'm number 1.
That's true. Number 1 challenger. Number 1 challenger, let's say.
Yeah.
What do you think of that fight against Navarrete, and do you rate him? And do you think how would you approach that fight? I don't want you to give too much away in terms of game plan, but off the top of your head, what do you think?
I've never seen a fight. I've never watched them.
Oh, okay.
I've never watched it. So I couldn't tell you. All I can tell you is, I'll win, and I will. And when I do, I will.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I guess there's some fighters, right, who I've noticed that there's some fighters who are very, very in tune. They'll watch everything.
Yeah.
And whereas there's some who are just more relaxed and they'll say, okay, maybe when it comes close to the fight, they'll watch it. Or some fighters don't even watch their opponents, and it's just their coach or trainer that'll watch it, and they just say, okay, I'm trusting them to watch it, and I'll just do what I need to do. So are you more that second?
I know Christmas is coming now. On the 21st, it's going to be Christmas. It doesn't mean I'm going to watch The Grinch and all these Christmas films leading up to it.
No, that's a really good analogy. Yeah.
That's how I feel. I'll just enjoy the fight. I'll just enjoy the Christmas,
No, that's fair enough. I guess as a fighter, you've got so many things to worry about already. You don't need to worry about watching tape when you're doing you don't want to do your trainer and coach's job, do you? Watching the tape and doing tactics.
A lot of my friends say, why just watch this fight, and they send me stuff, and I think, stop sending me the stuff. I don't want to watch it. I'd rather watch something that I want to watch. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know why, but I sometimes think, should I be watching it? And I think from other people's perspective, I should be, but from mine, it's okay. I'm all right. You know what I mean? I'm all right not watching it.
People tick in different ways. Like, do you think it's also partly because obviously when you're fighting, that you're there, but as soon as you come out and you're relaxing, you want to kind of switch off from boxing?
I've never analysed it. I've never got to the core of why I don't want to. I've just accepted it's all right that I just don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't go too into it. I just accepted I don't want him. All right.
No, that's fair enough. No. I mean, I can say that you're definitely not the only person or only fighter like that. There are definitely quite a few fighters that are like that, from what I've heard as well. So I saw you quoted the Psalms from the Bible on your Instagram. So I just wanted to get a little bit on that. So how does your faith drive you and help you in your career and in your life? And does it, like, how much of an impact does it have in
Yeah,
terms of the way of life?
everything to me. It's absolutely everything. I think for a man to have faith, he's got, it can get a faith can get you through absolutely anything, can it?
Yeah,
I do
no, I agree.
believe. If you've got enough faith, yeah, and it also keeps me optimistic about my future, and it keeps me grateful about what I've got, and it lets me remember where I was, and it's just so much goodness comes from it. Yeah, I love it. I wake up in prayer, and I go to sleep in prayer every night, and I pray throughout the day, and people who probably haven't got faith will say, well, what do you do? Do you get down when you're in the Costa? Do you get on your hands and knees and pray? But no, I just think. I have me thoughts, me conversations, and probably I'm a deep thinker, but it helps me massively in my life. It helps me in my relationships. It helps me in my career. It helps me work hard. It helps me rest. It helps me be content. It helps me in every area of my life.
Yeah, helps you with the inner peace, isn't it?
Yeah, acceptance is a big one. It gives me a lot of acceptance around things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably a feeling of like for me personally, it's a feeling of everything happens for a reason, and as you said,
Yeah.
acceptance and moving forward. And when you have that faith, it's reassuring, isn't it, going forward? So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I do respect whatever faith that may be for
Mm,
people. I'm not too. I'm not. I was brought up a Catholic. As the community I was in, I was a Catholic,
mm,
but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm a religious man,
mm,
but I'm a man of God in my understanding,
no, I understand what you're saying,
and I think
100%.
everyone's got their own opinions. I don't know what God
Yeah.
looks like, who God is, but I think to have that faith is the same.
Yeah, 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 100%. I agree with that. Um, in terms of hobby wise, so we've touched upon, look, outside of the ring, you're not going to be watching tapes at home. So what do you do? What do you do in your downtime to enjoy?
Well, there's the thing there. So, like, I've got 3 kids, and like, if I'm watching, I can watch them running around the living room laughing. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time, fighting and arguing, but I could watch them being happy and laughing and cuddling and just enjoying my family. You know what I mean? And I've got a great partner. Got a great life, to be honest. I wouldn't want to spoil that by put myself in anxiety or think of sitting there like looking getting angry towards it and be like, what I'm gonna do. I don't know. I like to just spend time with my family, with my kids. Love my family, and work. I have to work. Do you know what I mean? I want to build a legacy. I want to build a career. So I have to do what it takes. You know what I mean? So one of the things being is working. So like I do enjoy it. I enjoy everything I have to do, whether that be hard or easy. I make
Mm.
sure I enjoy it. So if it's getting up and running at 6 a.m., I change my mind frame where this is a pleasure. I enjoy it. So I enjoy the podcast with you. I look at it as I'll probably get a good perspective from you today. I'll learn something from you today.
Mm.
I just try and be open minded and learn and enjoy my family.
That's an amazing attitude to have. So I think if more people had attitudes like that, the world would be a better place and everyone would be a lot happier. I think for sure. Yeah, no, I really respect that. That's a very good attitude to have. So okay, so as you said, obviously you're family man, and that's what you're doing. You're kind of more relaxed, as you said, at home, which is nice. It's nice. Like I can get on board with that as well. Um, so you said you don't watch boxing that much, right? Did you manage at all to catch the AJ Pulev fight?
Oh,
No. Okay. Well, let's forget that. Let's not go into that. But I'm assuming, okay, because every boxer that I talk to seems to have an opinion on this. You may not have an opinion on this. So obviously you didn't watch it, but AJ knocks out Pulev. Now after there's this big thing around UK boxing, AJ and Fury. Everyone wants it to happen.
yeah.
In your opinion, if that fight was to happen, how do you think it goes?
I think that it could go either way. I respect both men. I was on the Great Britain team at the same time as AJ. Tyson Fury, he's from my neck of the woods. I respect both men, but I won't sit on the fence. I believe that Tyson Fury is a superior fighter. Um, just through his mindset and his ability to adapt. I think AJ is an unbelievable fighter. I think when we talk about AJ, we say AJ or Joshua. We don't actually think that we can support them both. It's mad. What side of the fence are you on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
AJ is a brilliant fighter, and I was seeing him come onto the squads. I think he was like late teenager, and the speed he's developed at, and he always seems to adapt and get better, doesn't he? When he's up against it, he always comes back and he fights against his controversy and whatever inside the ring and gets even better. And so does Fury. So does Tyson Fury. So I just believe that Tyson Fury's got it's natural for Tyson to adapt. I believe he's a natural fighter. Yeah. I'm not saying anything about what AJ is. I just believe, in my opinion, that it could go either way as the both heavyweights, and AJ could come up with a great game plan, and he would have to execute it as he is a technical boxer. But I think when it comes to the point where if two men were in there and they were both nullifying each other, and one of them had to adapt, I think Fury's got the ability to adapt.
Yeah. It's interesting because both fighters now can fight different ways, whereas before you think AJ's a wrecking ball and Fury's the classic traditional boxer, master boxer. But now obviously you've got two boxers, AJ and Fury, obviously fighting in two different styles now. They can both fight in different ways, so it'll be an interesting matchup. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Are you a football fan at all?
I'm a blue. Yeah.
Yeah, Evertonian.
Yeah.
They're not doing too badly, are they, at the moment?
No, we were flying at the start of the season where we had a little bit of a dip, but I think that we could pick a back up.
Yeah.
Got a good win night against Chelsea, so yeah.
So in terms of, do you have any inkling about fight news for next year? Is there anything?
No.
No? You're just...
No, I wish it did, because I could relax more if I knew. When you're fighting, when you can relax. But I'm just going to enjoy my Christmas. It's been a long camp. I think the fight with Walsh, the camp, from when I knew I was going to fight Walsh, I think it was something like maybe 11 months. Same for 8 of them. Hard, you know what I mean? So it was an 8-month camp for one fighter. So, and he's the rest really. So will he.
Yeah, no, 100%. But what do you think? Do you think you'll be able to get the world title fight next, or do you think next year? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, definitely next year. Won't be fighting before Christmas. Won't be fighting in the next 2 weeks. But I think, I believe that I'm being pushed towards the world title. Definitely by being put in number 2, number 1 rank, number 2. So I definitely believe that I'm in a position to fight for it. Otherwise, why am I there?
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, I can't wait for that anyway. I'm sure that'll be a fight to look forward to in 2021. So we'll definitely be keeping tuned. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up?
No, just thank you for having me on your channel. I appreciate your time and I appreciate you, because I know you were doing it for free as well. And so without yourself, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. So thank you.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on as well. It's been a pleasure having you on. And as you said, it doesn't matter if I'm not getting paid, because you're not getting paid either for doing it. So it's just a nice chat to have between two people. So yeah, really looking forward to your news as well. And also, if I don't speak to you, have a great Christmas and New Year as well. And I hope you and your family stay safe as well and well during this period as well.
You too, sir. Thank you very much.
No worries. Have a good one, mate.
Thanks for you too.